Hi, and welcome back, everyone. I'm super excited about our next speakers. They're the authors of the Commander plugin, and they're going to be speaking about how they kind of designed and implemented it. I'm super excited to have them over. Hi, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
Well, I'm actually gonna leave it to you because you have prepared an awesome presentation for us, haven't you?
Yes, I hope you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. So I will leave you to it to talk about the Commander plugin.
Okay,
Enjoy.
let me close my window. There's like a reflection that's hitting my face.
No worries.
Yeah, okay, so I guess I will start already. I will introduce myself first. So I'm a CS student and a junior front-end developer working at a small startup here in Germany. And I also worked on lots of different Obsidian plugins before as well. So I think the two biggest ones are the dictionary plugin and the Obsidian charts plugin. Maybe you know these.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on with that lighting. So I'm Johnny.
Yeah, don't worry.
I'm a junior UX UI designer at a product consulting agency. This is the second plugin that I've designed for Obsidian. The first one was Workspaces Plus with Nothing is Lost, another Obsidian community member. Yeah, so throughout this whole month, we've seen some cool demonstrations of how to build a plugin. And now with our presentation, we want to share the behind the scenes of what that plugin building process has looked like for us collaborating as a team. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about what our plugin Commander does, how the project got started, how it's managed, designed, and developed. We're going to share our reflection. We did a retrospective together, and we're going to share what we talked about then, how we worked together. Then we're going to talk about what's next for Commander, and finally, we'll share some advice based on our experience.
Yeah, so I'll be starting with the question, what even is Commander? Commander allows you to easily add commands to various places in Obsidian's UI, and those include the left ribbon and the mobile quick action, the tab and status bar, the editor and file menu, and one recent addition we just released today, the Explorer pane. Commander now also includes the advanced toolbar plugin I made and has support for basic macros. That's all in the newest update we just released today. On the next slide, let's watch the video first. You can see how you can easily add commands. So the first one is just a basic save the current file in the left ribbon. And just to demonstrate, I also hide all the other commands that are there. And now I'm creating a shortcut for the export to PDF plugin, or not plugin, but a command that Obsidian provides in the page header. Yeah, I hope that made sense, and now you know what Commander is. So now we'll be talking about the motivation behind the project. So as you probably know, Obsidian is set up to support a diverse set of use cases, and so with our plugin, we are attempting to make the UI more flexible to support these many different ways of using Obsidian. And yeah, how did it came to be? I initially created the customizable sidebar plugin, which was modified by two other developers who adapted it to work with different parts of the UI. So the customizable sidebar plugin only worked for the left ribbon, and then other developers made one for the right-click menu or for the status bar and title bar, I think. And then Johnny had the idea to consolidate all those plugins into one, which does all those things, but way more polished. So, as I just explained, Commander had two basic goals. We wanted to consolidate all plugins to that add commands to different parts of Obsidian's UI, and we wanted to make it easier to add and remove those from the UI. And Johnny will be talking about how we achieved that later on. But now that you know what Commander is and how it came to be, let's talk about how it was made. As we are in different time zones, most of our work is asynchronous, and that's why we used an iterative approach, meaning we developed and designed features at the same time, which created a quick feedback loop, which helped us also to improve each other's ideas much more easily. And yeah, to collaborate, we used ClickUp for task management, Discord for general conversations, Figma for everything design related, and GitHub for the code side of things. Yeah, we also received feedback forms from users via Google Forms, and we also have pre-made forms on GitHub issues. Yeah.
So I skipped that slide a little early. Yeah, so in ClickUp is what we're using for project management, and we use a Kanban with the following statuses. So on the very left, we have the backlog, which is where bugs, enhancements, ideas, feedback from users, all of this will go into that little column. And then tickets are moved to the to-do column when we're planning on working on them. In progress is self-explanatory, and close is also kind of self-explanatory, but it's just when the bug has been fixed, the feature is released. This system makes it easy for us to jump back into the project at any moment after any period of time and quickly recontextualize. So then in Figma, Figma is the tool I use for creating my designs. This is a screenshot of an early design for the new macros feature that we just released. In Figma, you can leave comments on designs, which you see here as those little profile icons. And this lets us have discussions about specific details or areas of the designs. So in this particular discussion, Philip told me that it would make more sense to have the icon picker take the form of a button rather than a drop-down menu field. And then here on the right, this is the latest design where you can see the icon picker button is in the top right of the modal. And what I think is important about talking in the comments of Figma is that it facilitates discussions like these about the feasibility of an idea in the same tool where that idea is being designed. And this helps us iterate and make changes to those designs very quickly. So now we zoom out and you can see this is almost all of my canvas in Figma. I primarily worked on one page for most of the project up until now because this allowed me to design many disparate parts of the plugin quickly without having to navigate to different files or pages. The trade-off for that speed, however, is that it's difficult to navigate and find particular designs after being away from the project for any period of time. You can see it looks a little messy. So now that the project is more mature and we have most of our core features out, I'm going to be spending time organizing this mess and making it a little easier for myself and Philip to navigate. So for designing Commander, I have two guiding principles, more or less. And the first is to try and keep designs consistent with Obsidian's core design. And that way, users will have a seamless experience using our plugin because it'll all hopefully be designs that are familiar to them. And the second is to try and reduce interaction cost as much as possible. And I'm going to explain what that is in the next slide. So I believe that the concept of interaction cost is important to remember when designing a user experience. Generally, it refers to the amount of effort required for a user to achieve their goal. And this could be mental effort, such as having to remember a hotkey or the location of a feature in the interface, or it could be a physical effort, like needing to navigate through multiple menus or having to move your mouse cursor very precisely because the button you want to click is very small or in a crowded section of the interface. How many steps does the user have to take? What is getting in the way of them achieving their goal? How can we remove these barriers so that the user has a productive, enjoyable experience? This is what I'm thinking about when I'm doing my design work. So now I'll share 2 examples of design decisions that I made in Commander with this concept in mind. Okay, in this first example, the goal of the user is to add a command to the ribbon. And previously with Philip's customizable sidebar plugin, what that would look like is you would open Obsidian settings menu, and you'd open the customizable sidebar plugin menu. I should note that you open the menu and then you have to do a visual scan of the menu items to find your plugin settings menu. And then the same process happens when you open the customizable sidebar menu plugin. You have to do a scan of the interface to find where that add command button is. And then you would click the add command button and add the command using a series of prompts. And then, so the alternative method that we've introduced in Commander to achieve this goal of adding a command to the ribbon is to hover your mouse over the empty space after the last command in the ribbon, then click the plus icon that appears, and then add the command using a series of prompts. So a little bit less effort with that alternative method. So yeah, with that first method of achieving that goal, the one source of effort is that switching context by navigating through multiple pages or menus can sometimes make it hard to remember what your original task was. And there's also effort associated with having to scan through those menus, like I mentioned, especially when you have many plugins and find your one plugin. And so what's nice about this alternative method for adding commands is that with the hover icon, the action that we want to perform, which is adding the command, is able to be performed closer to the object that we want to perform that action on, which is the ribbon. So you want to add a command to the ribbon, you just move your mouse over the ribbon, and the action you want to do, you can do it there. And the trade-off with this design, though, is having that icon only appear on hover might not be easy for users to discover. And even if they know about it, they may forget that that option is there because it only appears on hover. So in the second example, there's another example of reducing interaction costs or reducing effort. The goal of the user is to hide a command that's been added by Obsidian or another plugin. In a previous version of Commander, if you wanted to hide commands in the ribbon, for example, you navigated to the Hide Commands submenu in our plugin settings menu. And in the current version that I'm showing here now, it's a little more intuitive because we made the hide commands feature available within the menu of the particular UI element. So if you want to hide a command that's been added to the ribbon, you would navigate to our ribbon menu and scroll down and you find the hide commands section. And then actually to take the concept of closeness of actions and objects further with this particular design, we might consider making it so that the user could hide a command by right-clicking it in the ribbon itself instead of needing to go to the menu. We have not done that yet, though.
Yeah, so now that you've heard Johnny's side of the design process, I will be talking about the development side of things. And I pretty much use the standard Obsidian tools that the sample plugin recommends. So that is the TypeScript programming language. And I also use the Visual Studio Code editor that most other developers use. And the only real addition is the use of the Preact UI library, which works almost the same as the popular React library, while being much more suited for being embedded into another app. And on the next slide, I will be explaining why. So there are lots of different UI libraries to choose from. And I think the most used one in the Obsidian ecosystem is actually Svelte. And I used Svelte before and I really liked it, but I wanted to improve my React skills because it's still the most in-demand skill for web developers, and that was important for me at the time. But why did I choose Preact and not React? Well, as you can see in the little table down there, a basic plugin using React is already over 200 kilobytes in size, while the whole of Commander, with its graphics, is still under half of that, meaning it loads much faster, especially on mobile. And because I was learning it while building something with it, there are now lots of places with messy code that I would need to clean up now that I know better.
So earlier this month, Philip and I got together to reflect on working together on this project. We discussed what worked, what could be improved, and what we're going to focus on going forward. So starting with what went well, collaboration. So with ClickUp, Figma, Discord, I think we were able to, or we both think we were able to create a pretty efficient design process despite working asynchronously and in different time zones. The project was well scoped, meaning that we knew from the start what we wanted to do, and we were able to break it down into manageable chunks of work. For expectations, from the start of the project, although we never explicitly discussed this, we both kind of understood that this is a side passion project. And because of that, neither of us could or would be available all of the time to work on it. And this mutual understanding has made collaboration very pain-free and enjoyable. And then lastly, the number of downloads and stars on GitHub shows that people are interested in it, at least, and they're getting some value from Commander. And then going to what could be improved, you saw my Figma, that needs to be more organized. And then, as Philip mentioned, his code could be cleaner. What went badly? Nothing went badly. So that's cool. And then the focus for the next period of time, we're going to be asking ourselves how we can work more efficiently as an asynchronous team. Although I think we already work very great, but there's always room for improvement. Yeah, I'm going to organize my Figma, and then Philip is going to clean up his code.
Exactly. So, what are the next steps for Commander itself? There are still a lot of planned features for Commander in the future. So the first one we are going to work on next is the improvement of the macros we just added. So currently you can only add different commands and a basic delay, but in the future maybe you can add commands for the editor, so you can basically type in the editor using a basic macro. And we want to respond to GitHub issues because currently there are lots of them and we didn't have the time to work through them. And of course, there are lots of different small UI and UX improvements or updates we want to make. Yeah.
So the advice or the learnings that we would like to share from working on this project together for the past couple of months. First one is to set expectations at the beginning of the project for people who are collaborating. Like I mentioned before, we kind of had a mutual expectation, but you can understand how issues can arise if people are not on the same page when they're working on something. From the designer perspective, I would encourage people to be thoughtful about their designs because a developer has to make them, and communication is very important between these roles to make sure that each person understands the feasibility of features and if the effort is worth the amount of potential value that those features might bring. Collaborating with a developer has helped me, or collaborating in general, collaborating with a developer helps you, as a designer, helps you create a project that can be tested by the public, which can show off your UI, UX skills, and help you learn about working with a developer. And then one other advice I have is to share, if you have an idea, share it in Discord or on the forum, because the community is very welcoming. And then I guess another note to add to that is when you have an idea, try and flesh it out as much as possible, either with like a mock-up, like a rudimentary mock-up, or wireframes or anything, because that just, it helps ground that idea a little bit more. And make it easier for the developer to visualize how much work it might take to make that idea.
Yeah, so most of these advice also applies to developers. And for example, before I worked on Commander with Johnny, I haven't really worked in a team before. And now I use that skills every day in my job. And yeah, so to sum up, it's hard to work in a team when you only learn things or learned to build things alone. And the second point, learning by doing is much more effective than going through programming courses, and it's even more fun if people are using what you made. So again, as I said, I learned React or Preact while building Commander. And yeah, it's what I really think is inspiring is that this project helped us build our portfolios, which in turn helped us to get jobs. And now that's the last slide, and we want to thank the Obsidian team for giving us the opportunity to present, and we want to support we want to thank the Obsidian community for the feedback and support, and also thank to the contributors to Commander and also the other developers that adapted the customizable sidebar plugin.
And thanks to you for sharing your experiences working together. I think this is a really good presentation. I think it highlights, something that you typically don't see. Typically, when you're starting with your plugin, you're working on it yourself, and a lot of the times you're just lost in the dark as a developer. Like, what should this be doing? Like, should I have this button over here? And it's really inspiring to see you working together to tackle these issues. And really, really cool to see combining skill sets, especially. So we do have one question here, which I actually thought was really good. So how do you balance discoverability with intuitiveness? I kind of want to know this too.
That was a tough question. So discoverability, that's for a user if they're gonna discover a feature. If they for them to, well, I need to think for a second. Well, I can't answer the question.
Well, I mean, yeah. So it's finding it, right?
I almost don't see them on the same scale, it's needing to balance them. Intuition, when you're trying to figure out what's intuitive for the user, that comes from user research and talking with the people who are using your plugins. And then after that step, the discoverability of that feature, that really what you're balancing with trying to make a feature discoverable is you're balancing that feature with the rest of the interface and all the other features. So they're kind of on different levels, but they're related. And I'm a junior designer, so I'm learning about this stuff too. That's probably the best answer I can give right now.
Yeah, but I think we can actually improve a bit on that, because right now we have these little add command buttons in the UI, for example, on the ribbon, and you have to hover over them to actually see them because they are invisible by default. So it's kind of intuitive because it's on the UI element you would want your command to be, but it's not really discoverable at the moment, at least.
And I was even thinking, actually, I wasn't sure if I should add this into the presentation, but the part about closeness of action and objects and thinking about intuition, I think my actual intuition for if I want to add a command to any part of that interface is that I should move my mouse cursor over that element and then right click, because typically you have a context menu from right clicking. And so I would expect to see an option in that. But right now, as we have it, I don't think you can right click on the div or the ribbon itself. So we might want to consider making a little update.
I actually, I mean, I started like watching this. I started thinking, like, is there an opportunity here for like a shared Figma project where we can start working on some of the design patterns that we can use throughout like plugins? Because I mean, because I definitely, as a plugin developer, I run into these issues as well, where how should I, this is what I want to use. How do I use the components that Obsidian provides to me, and how do I like compose them together? Because and I think a lot of people, they experience like plugins that might not feel necessarily like they're part of Obsidian itself. So if we kind of what you've basically been starting on, how can we develop that into like a design language that plugin developers could go to and kind of get inspiration for? Okay, I want to be able to change this property. Is there like a pattern that I could use?
I think that would be super valuable. And I've been thinking about that for a little bit of time too, because as I have worked on Workspaces Plus and now Commander, there are UI patterns, and it's very helpful, especially for the developers, yes, but for the designers, when we have ideas and we want to just pull components quickly and like see what something looks like. Yes, that'll be very valuable. It's something we can buy and work on.
So another question from me is, what was it like? You mentioned that you had a lot of collaboration over the Figma project, just trying out different designs and how this feels like.
Mhm.
How compared to actually, building it and testing it out? How much did you do? Because sometimes you don't know until you actually click around and get a feeling for how it works, right? Could you elaborate on like the balance of trying things out in Figma versus trying things out and then reverting it, maybe the implementation?
Yeah, so I think we haven't really found a great workflow for that yet, because right now, if I build a new feature, I just send the plugin files over to Johnny for him to test. And if he likes the improvement, we will release it. But yeah, maybe it would be better for I don't know if there's another way, but that's how we are doing it right now.
I guess the benefit of using Figma is that it's quicker. You can change things easily just by clicking around, and whereas actually building the feature, it takes a little longer.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's true.
That feasibility. Yeah, I mentioned feasibility a lot because with that example of the macros plugin, when I put the icon picker as a drop-down menu, it only takes me a little bit of time to make that little menu field in the design, and then Philip can come in and then take that, try and code it, and then say that actually doesn't make sense because of X, Y, and Z. So there's a slight disconnect between the designer tool and the developer tool, which maybe will be merged someday in the future. But it's not so bad.
so I'm gonna finish up with one last question for you from the comment section.
Mm-hmm.
Who made the spooky characters for your slides?
I made those. I had a lot of fun making those too. I was frantically trying to figure out how I can make a cool Halloween theme for this presentation. And then I realized we already have our little commander guy. Yep, you got the shirt. You're ready. Yeah, we've got a little commander guy, so I thought I could give him some costumes. Why not? Thanks for pointing that out. I had fun making those.
Yeah, they look great.
Thank you.
thank you so much for joining in today. This has been real exciting to hear. I feel inspired. I hope that there are UX designers out there listening to this, and that we're gonna see even more of these collaborations in the future, for sure. So thank you so much. Again, this has been the fifth and final Obsidian October session. I hope that you've enjoyed them, and we're definitely planning things for the future. But until next time, thank you so much, and I hope to see your plugin being published soon. Thank you all for tuning in. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.